Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Candid Convos with Anna B. Today, I have my lovely guest, my mom, and we are going to be talking about financial matters. Hi, Mama.
Hi, Anna. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So I got a few people who messaged me and they said they enjoy you sharing your wisdom and they wanted to learn more. And they asked that we talk about finances. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So they say the true character of a person is not shown when they have money, but when they have nothing, right? So, Mama, you know that there are some seasons where people go through having nothing, especially now in our economy, where some don't have jobs, some have gone to school, and others are in a good job, but it's just not paying much. So we wanted to talk about that today. So, what do you believe people can do in situations where they don't have a lot of money and they need to survive? Because we all need money to pay bills and do different things.
Okay, well, the thing is, I don't know, it's a bit tricky when you say someone who has no money, because what happens is that really, money comes from sale of goods or services. So, which means that a person has to either be doing one of the two in order for them to get money. If you can't sell goods, then at least you must be selling some service for you to be able to get money. So if a person has at least a job and they are getting little money, then it means they can do things to try and make that money stretch. So I don't know if you want me to probably lay out what it is that a person can do if they have little money and they want it to meet their needs. Okay. In that situation, if a person has money which is not enough, then it means there are two things that you can do. You need to increase your streams of income, and you also need to cut your budget, your costs. So in other words, like if I give an example of what we used to do when we were growing up, our parents used to tell us that a salary cannot be enough to meet all your needs. Because normally when a person gets a salary, the boss is just giving you money for you to come back again next time to give them money. Because remember, the boss is the one who's making a profit and not you. He's the one who's making money from his business. And you are actually just coming to give a service for that to be accomplished. So there's no way that he can give you lots of money to make you rich from his own business, but he's just giving you resources. So we'll be told by our mothers that, you need to use some skills, you have to have a side hustle for you to be able to make extra money. So if a person is not earning enough, they need to just ask themselves, is there no service that they could be doing after work? Which means like, if you're like somebody who's overseas like you guys, we understand that you guys have a way of being able to make money or have more than one job. So you then need to look at your time management and see where you can slot in another job somewhere, maybe for 2 hours or whatever, after your own regular job, so that you can make extra money. Or if you are in Zim, you have to look for services to sell, which you can sell after your job. So take, for example, if you can do consulting, or if you can do coaching, or you can do presentations somewhere in other places where people are having seminars and you charge for it. So all I'm saying in short is look for something else to do to earn more money. If it is one person who is working, you might need to also consider having the other spouse also going to work, as long as you guys plan your time management in a way that you won't ignore or neglect your children or your family.
All right, thank you for that. But what of those who are maybe the first sibling and they are helping with fees for the younger siblings and they are struggling to balance their own life and also pay for the fees and helping their family members? Do you think there's anything that can be done?
Well, there are several things that can happen there. You have to see that those family members, is there nothing else that they can also do to earn money? Or sometimes we discover that family members, if they find that there's someone who's just always willing to help them out, they might not even stretch their brains to also look for something else that they can do. So it has to be something that both parties are helping each other. If you know of something that your family members can be doing to also earn some extra money so that you can help each other out, you need to suggest it to them. Or maybe you need to sponsor them. But some of these family members will discover that, let's suppose it's you who is over there in Australia and you're trying to help me here in Zimbabwe, or someone who is in Zimbabwe. There are things that they can sell, because sometimes in Zimbabwe there are some goods that we might not be able to easily find in Zimbabwe at cheap prices, but you can get them over there at cheap prices. So you can facilitate, you give that person maybe income, or maybe it's like a starter capital for them to be able to either go to Botswana, and like now it's winter time, they can go to Botswana, start buying items that people in Zimbabwe need for winter, and buy them and sell them at good prices that will help them to earn money. And that business can actually go on and on. A person doesn't need to be educated to do that. You just need your strength and your time. So I would suggest that the person looks at the people that they are helping, whether they also can do something to also earn money. Then at the same time, even when you are helping, you can't necessarily sometimes help everybody. You might need to stagger and see who you can afford to help at a time.
That is so true. And I just thought of something that Brighton was sharing the other time when they also had a workshop on doing business and all, where one of the people who were presenting actually said, if you have a phone, the latest phone, and you're still talking about not having money and not having capital, it means you're doing something wrong. Be willing to actually live below your means and sell certain things so that you raise capital. Be willing to say no to things like, like us ladies, there's the wigs, there's the latest phone, there's the going out, that in that time that you're trying to do side hustles. Make sure that you're willing to say no to certain things so that you also grow and start a business and hustling. I just thought of when you mentioned about going to Botswana and going out of the country and getting something. But yeah, thank you so much for that point. And then in the last video, you talked about tithe, right? And people wanted to understand more on that, because I find people who be like, can I be honest with you? When you look at the amount of money that you're making and your bills, and then you subtract tithe, you see to say it's not going to be enough. So how does this work? Because tithe is returned, it's not paid, right? It's something that we have to do. But can you explain to us how it goes? Is it last, is it first, or you give whenever you can?
Okay, I think there's a principle that most people don't really understand in life. And that is the one which was mentioned by Jesus in Matthew chapter 6, verse 33, where he says that seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. So which means the things that we need, these things of money and businesses and all other things that we want in life, they will be added if we put them in their proper place. But the first thing that we need to seek is God first. And in Malachi chapter 3, if you read from verse 10 to 12, there are many verses in the Bible that talk about tithe, even Leviticus, Deuteronomy. There are promises that God gives to say that if you return tithe, these are the things that I will do. God promises things that he is going to do. So the problem that we do is that we tend to want to get rich at the expense of serving God. So when you do that, you have got it the other way around. So what you need to do first is seek first the kingdom of God, and then God is going to add the rest of it. What do I mean by that? Like, take, for example, you discover that those monies that you are saying, I'm earning money and it's not enough, is things are not really just coming together. When you have returned your tithe, you'll be surprised and amazed that some things you've actually find, things that you need to actually cover on that budget, you might find them at a cheaper price. Or you might actually find out that even the people that you are trying to help might actually get things better at better prices, or the same service at cheaper prices. God just has his way of making sure that your needs are met when you make him first. So it has to be God first. So if you think that my budget is not balancing, and then you have to take God's tithe and offerings and eat that in order to balance your budget, that's when you are going to discover that the budget won't even balance at all. I can give you an example. During my time also, because I've discovered that most people will struggle with this issue of returning tithe. And the devil, it is his way of making sure that we don't get blessed the way God wants to bless us. So we would say the month end has come, you are doing your budget, and you just find that the amount that you are short by is just that tithe and offering money. If you put your tithe and offering, you find that everything balances. But you then discover that is all just the devil's tricks. Because then God also says in the same book of Malachi chapter 3, that if you then don't return the tithes and offerings, I'll bring a curse. And there's a time when he was calling out to the children of Israel to build him a house. And he says, if you don't build my house, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to make holes in your money that you have brought. I'll make holes so that that money is not going to even achieve anything. So you discover that maybe you've paid your salary and you've received your salary, but your mother gets sick. You have to take money to take your mother to, for medical bills. Your car breaks down. Something just happens to be taking out that money. Those are the holes that God talks about. That if you are faithful to him, no one is sick in the family, no one is going to the hospital. You don't have these other extra bills that just come. So that is God's way of blessing you and making sure that your life is well. So it has to be God. One time, your dad and me, when we were also struggling with this issue of returning tithe, at one time we used to have a car that we used to call payday. Whenever it will be payday, that car will break down. I can assure you, and it will be taking money, lots of money to repair. So I just said, I would just advise a person never to do that, because when we stopped doing that and we decided, no, we'll return our tithes and offerings, God then showed us that he can bless, and he started blessing. And our money problems then were resolved.
Thank you for that. And I think, like you mentioned, the fact is, if you steal from God, he can't bless you. And I love, there's a time that you once preached a sermon long back, and you talked about how it's like going to a friend and you give them food. When they are returning that plate, they always put a lot more than what you gave them, right?
Yes.
To say that's the exact same thing with God. If our hands are always holding on to something, he can't give us. But when we let go, he's always going to give us more. So I guess it's important that we make sure that we never steal from God. And one of the excuses people give is, I'm helping my family, so I don't have to pay tithe. But the way you explained it is, there are no exceptions. Whether your car is not working, like you mentioned, your things fall apart, you go and you pay that and return that tithe. Sorry, I'm saying pay, return that tithe, because it's actually God's. Then I wanted us to talk about FOMO, fear of missing out. People now are so, like, they're so caught up in social media or life looking good, like the celebrities, and buying things they cannot afford. What do you buy everything that you can afford, or you actually have to have boundaries? Can anyone ever keep up with everyone around them, or you actually need to make that decision to say, there are certain places I do not go? Tell us more about fear of missing out.
In one of the things that every Christian is supposed to possess is the fruit of the Spirit. If I can give an illustration of an orange has different segments, and those segments are what make up the fruit that you call an orange. So the fruit of the Spirit, which are actually mentioned in the book of Galatians chapter 5, verse 22, they also have self-control as one of the segments of the fruit. So as a Christian, you should be able to be a person who has self-control. Mrs. White mentions to us that as Christians, we shouldn't be people that are so backward with fashion, but neither are we supposed to be too forward. So we're just supposed to be okay. There has to be a balance. And because you've given up your life to God, God will direct your life in the things that you do. So which means if you practice your self-control in financial management, you are going to have a more enjoyable life. Because there are some cases, as you know, that life has seasons. When you notice that the money that we are earning is not enough, some cases, and sometimes you have to make those difficult decisions, like having to change schools for your children or changing a place that you're actually staying to go to a cheaper place. So all that will require lots of self-control, and for you not to just follow everything that comes along the way. You can't be fashion followers and then enjoy financial freedom.
Yeah,
the two don't go
that's true.
together.
Yes, and what of someone who's done everything right? Maybe it's not fashion, but just that other people seem to be more successful than them. You know, when it comes to, you go to the same job, you see someone else getting promoted, you're not getting promoted, or you think you see someone else buying a house or something good, but you cannot afford it. Do you have to feel pressure with that? Is it better to buy on credit or what?
Oh, yeah, because I mean, we are all human beings and we do feel pressure of things that are happening with our peers around. Because, you know, remember that we see also examples of life from them. And I think I would also give myself as an example. When you were still a baby, I was staying in a flat. We were staying in a flat with your dad, and then I had a wish for you to be able to stay in a house like I did. Because when we grew up, we're in the rural areas, lots of grounds to play. But there you were in a flat and you couldn't go out to play. So it was something that was eating my mind. I needed a house. So I mentioned it to a friend at work. And then he just said to me, well, pray about it. But I was in my head, I said, pray about it, but I don't even have the money. If I look at my husband's money, my money, there was no way that it would ever make money to buy a house. But however, I just said, well, why not? Let me just do it. And I prayed about it. And for sure, every day I'll pray about it as a fool to just say, Lord, please, I need a house. But I knew that we didn't have money to buy a house. But God facilitated. We did get a house eventually, even with that little money of ours. And I think what you need to do is that realize that our stages of life differ. What you need to make sure is that where you are, it's not because you have just been lazy to think or lazy to research and find out what's happening on taking care of money. And if you know that you've done everything right, then you just leave it in God's hands. He will work out the things for you. But for most people, I have discovered that what makes the difference that somebody is just streetwise with financial issues, and some people are just not. They don't bother themselves to research to find out what it is that they need to do to increase their income. They are happy and content in their ignorance. So the other colleague might be the one who is really streetwise and they know how to make their money increase, how to make it better, and how to get assets out of different sources that will be prevailing in the economy. So getting yourself educated on finances is also important, because there's no way that God is just going to work a miracle for you over things that you need to do for yourself.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And I guess it kind of answered what my next question was going to be. Maybe if you want to add, you can add. Where people feel, you know, we are in this time where people are just being told blessings come financially, right? If you pray in the next month, your salary is supposed to multiply. And I guess that has brought a lot of people to have frustration. And the question I get a lot of times is, why would God allow me to suffer and not have money for fees, money for basic food? You know, how is this happening to me? You know, I've been praying, I've fasted, I've done everything, I've been a good person, but I'm not seeing that financial benefit. Some have not been working for 5-10 years. They've been praying. So what could you say to them to end?
For me, I would say that if you are having a financial issues and you really know that you have gone, because sometimes it's a matter of you discussing with people around you. Sometimes people don't even talk to anyone. They don't even ask people that know about money. They are just sitting at home and praying and hoping for the best. It doesn't work that way. Financial management has to be something that you sit down and plan on. That's why you need to have a budget. Because the budget then tells you how you are going to plan your money, where you're taking your money to, not for you to start sitting wondering, where did my money go? You plan, because sometimes you have expenses that are monthly. You need to know what it is that you are putting down as your expenses for the month, and there are other expenses which come periodically, like school fees. You need to plan for that. You also need to plan for your retirement. We have seen some people who will leave their jobs. They were driving cars, but the cars that they were driving were just company cars. They never then bothered to advance themselves to buy their own personal cars, because then it means the day that person leaves, they're just going to park the company car, leave the company house, and then just go home with nothing, walk on foot, and you won't even have a place to stay because maybe you've been fired. So what it is that you're supposed to learn to know to manage the resources of your salary while you are still at the job, so that you can make other streams of income which will sustain you. So your budget is the one that's going to determine the goals of what you are going to achieve. But working with God is also going to be a crucial part. One thing that you must know is that God does not do for us things that we can do for ourselves. He has not created us to be like that. It's like you wanting to take food, and you sit Anashe down and you say, sit, let me feed you. All you are doing there is you are killing Anashe, then she will never grow. So God also does the same. He wants us to exercise our brains, our minds, because that's why he gave us those when he created us. And everybody has that. So a person needs to know how they make their decisions. So it's crucial that you make a decision. If you are at work and you are not doing your work properly, the bosses can't promote you because they are not doing your work properly. So there are things that you need to just do for yourself first. If you know that you have done your part, then the rest you leave it to God. God is the one who's going to sort it out for you. Just talk to him. He will do it for you. But first of all, ask him whether there's not something that you're supposed to be doing that you are not doing. And then he will show you. Because if we are lazy, indeed, we will not be able to achieve financial freedom. Because the Bible is full of examples of people that are lazy, that they won't do anything. They won't achieve anything. But people that are actually hard workers, they are the ones who achieve things.
Yeah.
And Solomon gives us an example in Proverbs to say, go to the end, you sluggard. You know, so you need to really know the ants, they prepare for their housing. In summer, they prepare for the winter. In winter, they prepare for summer. So you need to be a person who plans things. If you don't plan your finances, definitely it will not work. So have a budget that you stick to.
Thank you so much for that. And in the next video, she will share more on the budget. I just didn't want the video to be too long so that people can take time to digest what you said. But to end, Mama, encouragement. People are going through a tough time financially. And some have even given up on situations changing to the point where they've started compromising their principles just to survive. And like you mentioned, to say God has a standard that he wants us to have as stewards. What are your last words to encourage maybe someone who's going through a financial dryness? There's something you mentioned actually before you speak that I thought was so powerful about if you're going through a season where things are tough, you also need to tell people so that they can help you. I think sometimes we have that pride to say, I can't be found asking for help, but through asking for help, like you mentioned, when you wanted a house, someone was able to give you advice. So if you're quiet and you're struggling by yourself, no one can ever help you. But can you share encouragement to end for someone who's going through that financial dryness of things are bad? What can you say to them just to encourage them?
I think my encouragement would be to say, as long as you believe in God, he will never forsake you. David says, I have been young and now I'm old, yet I have never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his children begging bread. In Proverbs chapter 3, I've forgotten the verse, I can't remember the exact verse, but it talks about do not be afraid of sudden disaster when it comes. God will be your strength. God will see you through. Simple example that we have in the Bible, like the widow whom Elisha was sent to, the one who provided for Elisha when she cooked her last meal during that time of drought. God was
Elijah.
able to
Not
Elijah.
Elijah.
Oh,
Elijah.
Elijah. Yeah, okay. Prophet Elijah. Then God was able to make sure that that family is sustained throughout the whole season of the drought until the rain started coming. So there is no way that God will ever forsake his children and leave them to hunger. So if you know you've done your best and the situations that you are facing is something beyond your control, just have your trust in God. You will send help. And don't keep quiet if you have people that can help you. Yeah, tell them, let them know that this is what you are going through. The church can help. And sometimes, there are times that we need to put our pride aside. If you know you need help, let them talk about you. As long as they've provided you with help, what's the problem? Just go ahead and get the help. Let the church speak, let people speak, but you have gotten your help. Those are my words.
Thank you so much, Mama. You will have to come back again because I know you really explained the budget really well, and I didn't want you to do it in passing so that actually people may know the percentage to allocate for every single thing, and hopefully you can share PowerPoint so that people see. But thank you so much, and to everyone who's watched, thank you for continuing to watch. I hope you've learned something today that can help you financially to make better decisions. But as she's emphasized, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and then everything else will be added unto you. If you steal from God, he's going to open that pocket and you won't benefit or get any blessings. But if you give to God, he's going to give you more than you ever asked or imagined. So bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.